It is 2:47 in the morning, and you are looking at a screen. You are 22 years old. Your name, in this story, is Simon Lee. You live in a 400-square-foot studio in Koreatown, Los Angeles, and the rent is $1,475 a month, and you have not slept more than 5 hours in a row for 9 days. Your laptop is open on a kitchen table that is also a desk that is also, when you fall asleep there, a bed. There are 47 browser tabs open. You can count them because the little numbers on the tab strip have collapsed into a single gray blur, and the only way to know is to hover your cursor and watch the tooltip stutter. Your pulse, if you took it right now, would be 104. You will not take it. You are afraid of the number. The tabs are arranged in the order you opened them, which is also the order in which the world ended. Tab 1 is a long-form article about the collapse of an aquifer in Central California. Tab 2 is a Reuters wire about a coup in a country whose name you cannot pronounce and whose location you could not place on a map within 900 miles. Tab 3 is a thread on a forum where a man with a cartoon avatar is explaining why the entire banking system will fail by November. Tab 4 is a study on microplastics in human placentas. Tab 5 is the comments section of Tab 4. You are reading the comments section of Tab 4. You are reading the comments section because the article itself was not enough. The article gave you a number, 348 micrograms per gram of placental tissue on average in the cohort studied, and the number was not enough. The number was an abstraction. You needed the comments. You needed someone in the comments to be more afraid than you were, so you could borrow the shape of their fear and wear it like a coat against your own. A user named rivermom_77 has written a paragraph about her son's eczema and how she now believes it is connected. You read the paragraph 3 times. You feel something tighten in your chest, just below the breastbone, in the place your therapist will, 6 years from now, teach you to call the diaphragm. You do not have a therapist yet. You do not believe in therapy yet. You believe in information. You believe that if you read enough, fast enough, in enough directions at once, you will eventually understand the world, and once you understand the world, you will be safe inside it. You are wrong about this. You are wrong about this in a way that will cost you, by the time you are 30, approximately $11,400 in copays, 2 romantic relationships, the friendship of a man named David who used to live across the hall, the ability to read a novel for pleasure, and the lower 40% of your sense of taste, which you will lose temporarily during a panic attack in a Whole Foods on Sunset, and which will never quite come fully back. But you do not know that yet. You think you are doing research. You think you are being responsible. You think the people who do not read what you are reading are the ones who are sleepwalking, and you are the one who is awake. This is the most expensive thought you will ever have. Across the city, in a 1-bedroom apartment in Highland Park, another 22-year-old is also awake at 2:47 in the morning. Her name is Priya Shah. She is awake because her cat has knocked something off a shelf, and the sound has pulled her up out of a dream about her grandmother's hands. She walks barefoot to the kitchen, fills a glass of water, picks up her phone from the counter where she left it 3 hours ago, and turns it over so the screen is face down. She does not check the screen. She does not know, and will never quite know, the small, useful number of how many notifications she just chose not to see. She drinks the water. She goes back to bed. She is asleep again within 9 minutes. I want you to hold these 2 people in your mind, side by side, the same age, the same city, the same hour of the same night, because what I am about to tell you is not the story of their lives. It is the story of one decision, made and unmade and made again, every day for 8 years, and how it ends with one of them rich in everything except a body that works, and the other one rich in nothing except a body that does. My name is Wes Calder. I am the man who, 8 years from this night, will sit across from Simon Lee in a coffee shop in Echo Park, and watch him try to drink a cup of coffee with a hand that will not stop shaking. I am the man who will write this story down because he asked me to, and because his exact words to me after he set the cup back on the saucer with 2 hands like a child were, "I do not want anyone else to live the years I just lived." So I am writing it down. This is episode 9. This is the cost of seeing everything. The thing they do not tell you about being 22 and curious is that curiosity in 2018, in 2019, in 2020, in 2021 was no longer a private emotion. It had been industrialized. It had been instrumented. There were entire buildings in Menlo Park and Mountain View and San Francisco full of people whose job, their actual job, the thing on the line of their LinkedIn, was to take your curiosity and bend it very gently, very patiently, in the direction of their next quarterly report. They did not hate you. They did not even know you. They had simply built a machine, and the machine had one rule, and the rule was, keep him on the screen for 1 more minute. The machine got very good at its rule. By the time you, Simon Lee, are 23, the average length of time a person of your age and demographic spends looking at uninterrupted content before switching to something else is, according to Dr. Gloria Mark of the University of California, Irvine, who has been measuring this for 2 decades, roughly 47 seconds. In 2004, when she started measuring, it was 2.5 minutes. In a single human generation, the floor of attention has dropped by more than 2/3, and you, sitting in your kitchen desk bed at 2:47 in the morning, are the floor. You do not know this. You think you are concentrating. You think you are doing the deep work. What you are actually doing is touching 47 separate emotional surfaces in the span of 9 minutes, and your nervous system, which evolved on the savanna of East Africa to respond to threats one at a time, in sequence, with rest in between, is producing 47 separate doses of a stress hormone called cortisol, and there is no rest in between. And the cortisol is just sitting in your bloodstream like an unread email that has been left open for 9 years. This is not a metaphor. This is endocrinology. Doctor Adam Gazzaley, in a book called The Distracted Mind, which you will eventually read at the age of 31, in a single sitting, on a porch, in a city you do not live in yet, will tell you that the human brain has not meaningfully updated its hardware in roughly 200,000 years, and that asking it to process the entire emotional weight of every human catastrophe in real time from a screen the size of a playing card is the equivalent of asking a Bronze Age irrigation ditch to handle the runoff of a metropolitan storm drain. It does not handle it. It overflows. And what overflows, in you, in Simon Lee, in 20 million other young men and women in your country alone in 2022, is something the American Psychological Association will, in a report that year, name headline stress disorder. It is a real diagnosis. It has its own line item. You are line item number 9,412,603. You will not know your number. You will only know that on a Tuesday in March, when you are 23 years old, you will be standing in line at a Trader Joe's on Vine Street with a basket containing a bag of brown rice, 3 apples, a block of cheddar cheese, and a small bouquet of yellow tulips you bought because it was your mother's birthday and she lives in San Diego and you are not going to drive down to see her, and as the cashier scans the rice, the room will tilt, and you will think with a strange clinical calm, "Oh, the building is collapsing." And then you will realize that the building is not collapsing. You are. You will not call it a panic attack. You are too embarrassed for that word. You will call it a weird moment. You will tell David, your friend across the hall, that you had a weird moment in Trader Joe's. David will laugh and say, "Yeah, dude, that store is intense on a Tuesday." You will laugh too. You will go home and you will open your laptop and you will type panic attack symptoms into a search bar, and you will not type it because you want to be helped. You will type it because you want to confirm. You want a tab. You want a number. You want a list of 7 warning signs, and you want to read the list, and you want to recognize yourself in the list, and you want the recognition to feel like control, the way recognizing yourself in any list feels like control, the way a horoscope feels like control, the way a 5-symptom checklist for a disease you do not have feels like control. It will not feel like control. It will feel like a tab. You will leave the tab open. You will leave it open for 9 days. Every time you walk past your laptop, you will see the title in the strip: Panic Attack, 7 Warning Signs and What to Do. And every time you see it, the small tightening below your breastbone will happen again, very faintly, like an echo of a bell being rung in the next building over. This is what it costs to look. This is the unit price of awareness, and you have been buying in bulk. Across the city, in Highland Park, Priya Shah is 23 years old now too. She is sitting on her couch on a Sunday morning in March. She has just returned from a yoga class at a studio she walks to. She is drinking tea from a chipped mug. Her phone is in the next room, on a shelf, face down, where she put it last night at 9:45, and where it will stay until 11 this morning, and she does not feel, in any part of her body, that this is a deprivation. She feels that it is a fence. She built the fence at 23. She has not taken it down. A year ago, when she was 22, Priya did what you, Simon, are doing right now. She had the tabs, she had the threads, she had a Twitter account with 2,400 followers, and a feed that updated every 9 seconds, and a habit, in the bathroom, in the elevator, in the bed she shared at the time with a man named Anand, of refreshing it, refreshing it, refreshing it, until Anand, one Sunday morning, said to her, very quietly, without anger, "I do not think you are here." She thought he meant emotionally. He meant literally. He meant, "Your eyes have not left that screen in 40 minutes, and I have been speaking to you for 38 of them." She put the phone down. She picked it up again 9 minutes later. She put it down. She picked it up. By Tuesday, she was crying in a bathroom at work over a video, 11 seconds long, of a dog in a country she had never been to being pulled out of a flood. By Thursday, she could not remember the dog. By the following Monday, there was a different dog, in a different country, in a different flood, and she was crying again, and she realized, standing at the sink, that she had become a woman whose grief was on a subscription plan, and the renewal was automatic. She quit Twitter that night. Not deactivated, deleted. She unfollowed 312 accounts on Instagram in a single sitting. She unsubscribed from 9 newsletters. She turned off every notification on her phone except calls from 4 people, and the 4 people were her mother, her sister, her best friend Hema, and Anand. Her friends, when they noticed, called her cold. One of them, a woman named Lakshmi, said at a brunch, "I just feel like, if you are not informed, you are part of the problem." Priya did not argue. She drank her coffee. She thought, "I was informed for 9 months and I helped no one, and I cried in a bathroom and I forgot every dog." She did not say this. She said, "You are probably right." She went home. She did not change her mind. This is the move. This is the entire move. There is no other move. There is no version of the move that involves keeping the phone and using it more wisely. There is no version of the move that involves curating your feed. The feed is not a garden. The feed is a faucet, and the faucet is connected to an ocean, and you cannot curate an ocean. You can only decide whether the faucet is open or closed. Priya closed the faucet at 23. You, Simon, will not close the faucet until you are 33. That is 10 years. Let us be specific about what 10 years cost. By the time you are 25, your screen time, measured by the small, honest number on the back of your phone that you swipe past every morning without looking, is 11 hours and 40 minutes per day. You are awake, on average, 17 hours per day. The math, which you do not do because doing the math would be unbearable, is this. You spend 68% of your conscious life looking at a piece of glass that was designed in a building in California by people whose explicit goal was to make sure you spent 68% of your conscious life looking at it. By the time you are 26, you have stopped reading books. Not because you decided to, because you sat down with one, a novel your mother sent you for Christmas, a book she loved when she was your age, and you opened it, and you read the first page, and at the bottom of the first page your hand reached, on its own, with no instruction from you, into your pocket, and your phone was in your hand before you knew you had moved. You put the phone back. You read the second page. Halfway through the second page, your hand moved again. You put the book down. You did not pick it up again. The book is still on your nightstand. The bookmark is on page 2. It has been on page 2 for 4 years. By the time you are 27, you have had 3 more weird moments. One in a Whole Foods on Sunset, the one where you lose the lower 40% of your sense of taste for 9 days. One on the 101 freeway, driving north toward Ventura, where you have to pull over onto the shoulder and sit with the hazards on for 26 minutes before you can drive again. One in your own kitchen on a Saturday morning with no warning while you are pouring coffee, and the coffee goes onto the counter instead of into the cup because your hand is shaking and you do not understand why. You start seeing a therapist. Her name is Dr. Margaret Chen. She is 47. She has a small office on the second floor of a building in Silver Lake. And on your first visit, she asks you, very gently, "How much are you on your phone?" And you, Simon Lee, 27 years old, who have read approximately 40,000 articles about every conceivable threat to human flourishing, lie to her. You tell her maybe 4 hours a day. She does not call you out. She lets you have the lie. She knows that someday, on your own, you will go into your settings and you will look at the small, honest number, and you will see that it is 11 hours and 52 minutes, and you will sit on the edge of your bed and you will not move for 20 minutes, because the lie you told a stranger 6 months ago will be the cheapest part of the bill. That moment, sitting on the edge of your bed, is happening when you are 28. By the time you are 29, you have spent $11,400 on copays for doctor. Chen, on a sleep study that found nothing wrong with your sleep except that you were not sleeping, on a prescription for a medication called sertraline that you took for 9 months and then stopped because it made the world feel like it was wrapped in cotton, and on a 1-week silent retreat in Joshua Tree where they took your phone at the door and you spent the first 48 hours physically ill, vomiting in the gravel behind the meditation hall, sweating through your shirt, your hands trembling, your jaw clenched so hard that on day 3, a woman named Elena gently put her thumb between your eyebrows and said, "Honey, you are detoxing. This is what it looks like." You did not believe her. You thought you had food poisoning. You did not have food poisoning. By the time you are 30, on a Wednesday in October, in a coffee shop in Echo Park, you are sitting across from a man in a gray sweater who is asking you questions for an article he is writing about a thing he is calling the cost of awareness. That man is me. I am writing this down. You are holding a cup of coffee with 2 hands, like a child, because one hand is not enough, because one hand will shake the coffee out of the cup and onto the saucer, and onto the table, and onto your jeans, and you are very tired of cleaning coffee off your jeans. You say to me, "I have read everything. I have read about every collapse. I have read about every war. I have read about every disease and every economic indicator and every climate model and every election in every country I will never visit. I am, by the metric of how many words I have absorbed about the state of the world, probably in the top 1% of human beings who have ever lived. And I cannot finish a sentence to my own mother on the phone without my eyes drifting to the screen of my laptop. I cannot read a book. I cannot watch a movie. I cannot have sex without my mind being somewhere else. I cannot eat a meal without scrolling. I am the most informed person I know, and I am the least present person I know. And I am beginning to understand that those 2 facts are not unrelated." And then you say the sentence that becomes the title of this episode in my notebook, the sentence I have been waiting 8 years to hear someone say out loud. I am not informed. I am poisoned. This is level 4. This is the math. Let me give you the math the way you gave it to me, Simon, that morning, on the back of a napkin, with a pen you borrowed from the barista because both of yours had run dry in your bag. 11 hours of screen time per day, times 365 days, times 8 years. That is 32,120 hours. divided by 24 hours in a day, that is 1,338 days. Divided by 365, that is 3 years and 8 months. 3 years and 8 months of your one life looking at a screen because someone in Menlo Park needed to hit a quarterly number. You stop writing, you put the pen down, you say very quietly, "And the worst part is, I cannot tell you a single thing I read." You cannot. You try, sitting there, to remember one article, just one, out of the 40,000. You sit for 90 seconds. The barista calls a name that is not yours. A truck reverses outside, beeping. You cannot do it. You can remember the feeling of having read them, the heat in the chest, the tightness below the breastbone, the particular flavor of dread that rises in the back of the throat when a headline opens a tab. But you cannot retrieve the content. The content is gone. The content was never the point. The cortisol was the point. You were a customer of the cortisol. You paid in years. This is what breaks inside you, in the coffee shop, on a Wednesday in October, at the age of 30. You go home. You sit on your couch. You do not open the laptop. You sit until it is dark, and then you sit until it is darker, and you do not turn on a light. Your phone buzzes 7 times. You do not look at it. This is level 5. You sit in this room for 2 more years. I do not mean literally. I mean, that night, what you have to do. And you cannot do it, because the thing you have to do is the thing the entire architecture of your life is built against, and the architecture does not come down in a night. You spend 2 years half doing it. You delete an app, you re-download it. You set a screen time limit, you raise the screen time limit. You go on a digital Sabbath. You break it on Sunday afternoon. You read a book about how to read books again. You finish the book. You feel proud. You celebrate by scrolling for 90 minutes. You are 32 years old. It is 3:14 in the morning. You are standing in your kitchen. You have just woken up to look at your phone because you woke up at 3:12, and the gap between waking up and reaching for the phone was, this time, less than the gap between any 2 heartbeats. You catch yourself. You stand at the counter in the dark, holding the phone. The screen is bright. There is nothing on it. There is never anything on it. There has not been anything on it that mattered for 10 years. You walk to the freezer. You open the freezer. You put the phone inside the freezer on top of a bag of frozen peas. You close the freezer. You go back to bed. You sleep for 4 hours. You wake up at 7:17. The phone is still in the freezer. You leave it there. You leave it there for 9 days. This is level 6. This is the action without drama. There is no music. There is no triumph. There is a man in a kitchen and a freezer and a bag of peas, and there is a small, surprised feeling in his chest that he does not at first recognize, because he has not felt it since he was 19 years old. And the feeling, when he finally names it 3 days later in the shower, is quiet. It is just quiet. He has not been quiet inside since 2018. Over the next 9 months, you delete 14 applications from your phone. You do not announce it. You do not write a Medium post. You do not go off the grid. You keep the phone. You keep 2 things on it, text messages and a Maps application, because Los Angeles is large and you have a bad sense of direction. Everything else is gone. Email goes back to the laptop. The laptop goes into a closet. The closet has a door. The door has a habit, now, of being closed. You start reading the book on your nightstand. You start on page 2, where the bookmark has been waiting. You finish it in 11 days. You cry on the last page. Not because the ending is sad, because you finished a book. This is what your life had become. You are 35 years old now. We are sitting on a porch in Highland Park. It is not your porch. It is Priya Shah's porch. You have known her for 18 months. You met her at a small gathering at a friend's apartment, and you talked for 40 minutes without checking your pocket. And at the end of the night, she said, very plainly, "You are unusually here. I like that." And you went home and you sat in your car for a long time before you started the engine, because no one had said that to you in 12 years, and you were not sure your face was ready to drive yet. She is not your girlfriend, she is your friend. She has a daughter who is 4 years old whose name is Asha and who is, right now, on the steps of the porch, drawing a long blue line with a piece of chalk that started the morning as a long piece of chalk and is now a small piece of chalk. And her knees are coated in the soft, pale dust that chalk leaves on small knees on a porch in October. Priya brings you a cup of tea. She sits in the chair next to yours. She does not say anything for a while. The light is the slow gold light of 4 in the afternoon. The light that, in Los Angeles in October, lasts for about 9 minutes and then is gone. And you have learned, in the last 3 years, to notice it when it comes. You say to her, "I think I missed a decade." She says, "You did." She does not soften it. This is one of the things you love about her. You say, "I read everything and I knew nothing." She says, "I know." You say, "I thought if I just kept up, I would understand what was happening. I thought understanding would protect me. I thought caring about everything was the same as being a good person." She turns her face slightly toward you. Asha is humming on the steps. The chalk is whispering on the concrete. She says, very gently, "Seeing everything is not the same as understanding anything." You have heard her say this before. She said it to you the first night you met. She said it to you at a dinner in March. She said it to you on a phone call in July when you were trying, again, to explain why you had spent 40 minutes on a forum reading about something that was not going to happen. It is her sentence. It has become, over 18 months, your sentence too. This is the mantra. This is what returns. You sit with it. A long time ago, on a night when you were 22, you sat in front of a laptop with 47 tabs open and a pulse of 104, and you believed that if you read the comments under one more article, you would finally feel safe inside the world. You believed that information was a kind of armor. You believed that the people who looked away were sleepwalking, and the ones who looked at everything were awake. You were wrong about all of it. The people who look at everything were not awake. They were drowning, very slowly, with their eyes open, in a flood that nobody had told them was a flood, because the flood had been engineered to feel like air. The people who looked away were not asleep. They had simply learned a thing the rest of you had not yet learned, which was that the human nervous system is a finite organ, that attention is a finite resource, that grief is not a renewable energy, that the world's pain does not lessen because you have absorbed your share of it, and that there is a kind of moral seriousness in choosing what to carry and what to set down, a seriousness that looks, from the outside, like indifference, and that is, on the inside, the only honest form of love a small human animal can offer to a very large and very loud world. Priya learned this at 23. You learned it at 33. The cost of the 10-year gap in dollars was $11,400. The cost in years was 3 years and 8 months. The cost in relationships was 2. The cost in books was every book you did not read between 2018 and 2032. The cost in mornings with your mother was every morning you did not call her because the phone was the enemy and you could not yet tell the difference between the phone and the people on the other end of it. You will not get those mornings back. Your mother is 71 now. She lives in San Diego. You drive down on Sundays. You leave the phone in the car. This is what I would have wanted to know when I was 22, sitting in front of a laptop at 2:47 in the morning with 47 tabs open and a pulse I was afraid to take. That the tabs were not the world. That the world was a small porch in October, and a 4-year-old with chalk on her knees, and a woman beside you who could say a true sentence in 8 words, and a cup of tea that was hot when you picked it up and warm when you set it down, and a 9-minute window of gold light that you had to be quiet enough inside to see. You take a sip of the tea. Asha looks up from the chalk. She has drawn on the concrete a long blue line that starts at the bottom step and ends at your foot. She is very pleased with it. She points at it. She says, That is the river. You look down. The chalk dust on your knees is the only data you need.